The opinions expressed here are exclusively those of CG Sense. No brand affiliations, free products, or affiliate marketing are associated with this video.
Alright, so for a week straight, I started off my day with 3 sprays of Creed Royal Oud, and I actually chose to apply this fragrance a bit differently. Because I'm so in love with the top notes in the opening, I chose to transfer this to a travel atomizer. The spray distribution with the regular bottle is pretty strong, and so is it with these atomizers. About the same, pretty much. This is quality decant. If you're interested in where I got this, I'll put where I got it on the screen. I'm not affiliated with anything. I'm not going to link to anything. I just know some people are curious. Where do you get like a good American-made atomizer? Like something that's not like Amazon cheap, just to carry your Royal Oud around with you. Anyways, that's where I get mine. And I did that with this fragrance because this fragrance, for me, the opening and the first 30 minutes is just the best part. Masterpiece. Maybe the best thing I've ever smelt in my life, even outside of the world of fragrances, just in general. Absolutely love the top notes, the opening, and the first 30 minutes of this fragrance. And I really love the whole fragrance and the lifespan of it, the evolution of it, everything about it. And if you've been following this channel, you know I glaze Creed Royal Oud a lot. It's in a lot of my list. So overall, this is going to be a pretty positive review, and it was also a pretty positive experience getting to revisit this fragrance and wear it for a week and really just get my thoughts in order on it. So starting off with describing the scent on the opening, as I said, honestly, one of the best smells of my life. But it's interesting because different people kind of get different things from the opening. I'll just share with you what I get. Woodshop class, for real. And people, like, I've read things online and people say citrus, and I just don't get citrus. I don't know what they're talking about. I get, like, if you were to, almost like somebody is sawing timber in front of you and there's sawdust in the air and like a really good amount of it. So it's one of those things. It's a woody scent, but it's not resinous. It's not dark. It's not heavy at all. It's super light, and it also has almost a photorealistic vibe of being in front of somebody who's sawing timber, and there's just the right amount of wood in the air where you breathe in a smell of it and it's just uplifting and beautiful. It's almost photorealistic. Now the chocolate thing, we got to talk about the chocolate thing. Do I get the chocolate thing from Creed Royal Oud? Yes, but it is like an optical illusion. What I mean by that is, you ever see an optical illusion and you totally see something and then you look at it a different way and you don't see the thing you saw before, now you totally see it? It's like weird like that. Like the chocolate is like almost evasive. Like sometimes I smell Creed Royal Oud the right way to where I get the chocolate, and sometimes I don't at all. And when I get the chocolate, it's very dry. It's not sweet at all. So how would I describe like dry chocolate? Think chocolate protein powder, something more along those lines. Cocoa powder. Just lightly laced in with that sawdust smell. I do get that, but it's one of those things. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I smell it the right way and I get it, and other times I don't. But I did, carry this travel atomizer around with me, and I sprayed some people with it that wanted to try it out. Some people that aren't really into fragrances at all, and this one guy smelt it, and that was his first impression. He said, "Man, I almost get like a chocolate smell from it." I was like, dude, that's crazy. So I'm guessing it's one of those things. You either get it or you don't. I'm like in the in-between where sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But yeah, the other thing I've heard is spices. I do get spices, but again, it's something evasive. Like it's almost like if the spices are there, they're very light. But I have put on Creed Royal Oud and kind of gotten a little bit of a Christmas vibe with the sawdust. That's the best way to describe it. But the spices are something that are so transparent to me. And honestly, really describing the opening of Creed Royal Oud, I would say like we can get into spices and chocolate, and people can say citruses and sandalwood and make it really more complicated than what it is. I would rather describe to you the feeling and what it smells like to me. Woodshop class, sawdust, like the perfect dose of it. You ever go in Home Depot and you're in like the wood section and you get that smell of wood? Imagine like one of the best perfumers of all time decided to take that smell and bottle it and also make it as good smelling as possible. Like that is the opening and the first impression of Creed Royal Oud. It's one of the best scents I ever smelled. I absolutely love it. I love the smell of wood. And throughout the time wearing this, like wearing something a week straight, normally I get bored of it. I mean, I never got bored of the opening of this fragrance. It hit me every time. Like every time I sprayed this on, I'm smelling that beautiful wood smell. And I'm like, whoa, like this is just amazing. It's one of those things. The dry down, the deep dry down, did I get bored of it over 7 days? I think that's natural. Not as much as I do with other fragrances, but that opening, it always got me every single day. And it never felt like on day 5, it was less impressive than day 1. It stayed impressive the whole time. It always got me. I would also say, like, you could say like that there's a vintage feel to this, but really just that smell of wood. It's like one of those things that it's not like 20-year-old fun in the sun. It is just naturally a more vintage kind of smell. And that's kind of the feeling I would get on the opening, almost like a vintage wood shop class to some extent. Also, if you were to like smell sawdust in real life, I think it would smell more shallow than what this is. Like I said, it's almost like a perfumer recreated that. So even on the opening, it has a bit of heft to it. Like it has a bit of depth and things going on. But overall, like to keep it simple, that sawdust, that's really what I get from it. Now, the first 30 minutes of the fragrance, the only thing I would say that happens is it's just like, it goes from being a bunch of particles of sawdust in the air really light, and it kind of hones in to smell a bit more like a plank of wood. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still getting those particles and that light, airy nature that I got in the opening, but it just feels like it's honing in more and becoming more like a solid piece of wood to me. Overall, it's not like a huge dramatic change from the opening to the dry down, and I love that first 30 minutes. That's why I carried the Travel Atomizer with me, is that first 30 minutes of Creed Royal Oud is one of the best smells I ever smelled in my life. But then after 30 minutes, from like 30 minutes to 7 hours, this is a pretty linear scent. There's kind of this gradient transition where it becomes more and more flat to me to some extent. And that's natural with every fragrance. I actually think that Creed Royal Oud maintains its composure better than most fragrances I've tried. It's linear, meaning it doesn't really change a whole lot, and it also doesn't really get flat. It just kind of has this natural, gradual transition to where it goes from this really fluffy, really nice, like crisp wood chips being sawed in the air, and then it kind of hones in to be more of a plank of wood. And then at 30 minutes, that's when I feel like the sawdust in the air is kind of gone. I'm left with more just like a pure wood smell. And then the wood transitions into something a bit more stale. I don't want to give a negative connotation to it, but I would say imagine it's going from a plank of like fresh cedar wood to something more like cedar chips that you would use in like a hamster cage. It just it becomes less and less alluring gradually over the course of 6.5 hours. And then it's gone for me, at least. And overall, like the scent in this whole thing, it just smells like wood to me. So I get really confused when like, I read people really complicating the scent of this and making it into like, oh, it's got citrus, it's got this, it's got that. I'm like, bro, to me, it's just the smell of wood. And it almost is like not even a cologne. Like it doesn't have a cologne vibe. It doesn't have like spices or lavenders or things really jumping out at you. It's almost like the smell of wood. Like it feels more like a scent than a cologne. That being said, it also just kind of feels like a manly scent, like the scent of a man almost. It almost is like a natural smell. Like I feel like if I were to smell this coming off of somebody and I wasn't into colognes, collecting them, smelling different ones, I don't know if I would think that they were actually wearing a cologne or if I think that they just smell like that naturally. Or it would probably be more like I wouldn't really question it. I would just think, wow, like this is just naturally what this person smells like. But if somebody asked, why do you think they smell that way? I would think most likely I would go to, if they were wearing a leather jacket, I would think it was like a mixture of leather jacket with like, maybe they smoke really high quality cigars. I would think it was a mixture of that. That's probably where I'd go to the most. But if you ask me, why do you think they smell like that? I really doubt I would think, oh, it's because they're wearing a cologne. Like, it's one of those scents that really just smells pure wood, manly smell. So I've seen a lot of videos where people say it's like a big gentleman vibe, and I don't really get like a gentleman vibe for me. And I've talked about this in the past on my channel. What I get is more like almost like a roughneck oil field worker that smokes cigars, that hangs out in southern bars, like that kind of vibe. Something that is just like a manly smell. I get that. Like if you say gentleman, I would say Boss de Portugal. Like I think like spices, lavender, something that is like clearly a perfume. Like this isn't really clearly a perfume in my eyes. It's more of like a smell. And it's a smell that I really personally enjoy. That being said, it's a pretty intimate scent. Like when you get into this, like after that first 30 minutes, that's another reason I carried it around with me. It really starts sitting close to the skin. I don't really get a lot of comments when I'm wearing it. There's one person that I work with that compliments me every time I wear Royal Oud, and that's it. Other than that, it's crickets. And I don't know if it's that people don't like the smell. I don't think that's what it is. I just think it's one of those ones that you're not sure if the person's wearing a cologne or not. Like it's already awkward enough to like reach out to a stranger and compliment their cologne. But if you're not positive they're wearing a cologne, I've had that happen where I'm like, okay, I like the way this person smells and I think they're wearing a cologne, but since I'm not 100% sure, I'm not going to, say something because I don't want to make it weird. It's already weird enough. And I think that possibly had more to do with it. Like maybe people like the smell, but they also aren't sure what it is. And when I carried this travel atomizer and sprayed people with it, especially people not very experienced with colognes. Of course, I would show them and let them smell the atomizer before I sprayed them. I didn't just go up to people and spray them. I mean, I'm reformed from doing that. That ended up being a big mistake in my past. Definitely get permission before you spray somebody. But they would smell it. I'll say, do you want to try it on? They'd say, sure. One guy had a really positive reaction, but the others just seemed like they didn't know how to place it. Like they were like almost like I almost feel like they were telling me it was good to make me happy. You know what I mean? Or to make it not weird. But their facial expression was a little bit confused. Like they'd never been sprayed with something that smells like this. Not really sure how they feel about it. And I think a lot of that is it just doesn't really smell like a perfume. It smells more like wood to me. So all that with the intimate sillage, this is a personal scent. This isn't like something I would say is like, go and get this if you want a lot of compliments from other people, if you want to fill a room with your sillage. Neither of those things are what Creed Royal Oud are. It's almost like something you wear for yourself. Almost like I don't know, like a candle you light up in your house just because you like the smell of that candle and you're the only person that's going to smell that candle because nobody's coming over, but you enjoy it. That's what Creed Royal Oud is, for me at least. And boy, I really love the smell of it. That being said, it's like when I wear this out, I told a story in my last video on this. I'm going to tell it again briefly. My wife is Puerto Rican and her family came in from out of town, and some of them are smokers. And we don't have an ashtray because we're not smokers. So they made one out of a water bottle. And one time I sprayed Creed Royal Oud and I went outside and I was on the balcony and somebody said, man, it smells like the ashtray isn't covered. In other words, the cap of this, it smells like they could smell the inside with all the cigarette butts and all of that going on. And then a woman out there said, that's impossible because I put the cap on it so nobody can smell what's going on inside that bottle. And then a guy looked at me and it was me. And from then on, like, I kind of feel like because this is like a non-perfume and it kind of gives off like the way the wood is in the dry down, it doesn't smell like an ashtray. If you want to smell a fragrance that smells like an ashtray, smell Le Labo Tobacco 28. That fragrance opens beautiful, but in the dry down, straight up smells like an ashtray, 100%. Like I couldn't do it, and my friend thought the same thing. Like it doesn't actually smell like an ashtray. If you put Creed Royal Oud on your arm and you smell an ashtray, you're going to be able to tell the difference. But most people around you, they're not putting that much thought into it. And Creed Royal Oud in a light dose, when people don't know it's a perfume, they don't know what to make of it. and they're curious what is that smell, I could see people thinking that simply you're a smoker. Like, I really think that that's something people could just impulsively decide off the top of their head. With, if you're not going to put much thought into what that smell is and you're just going off of the first impression that hits your mind, I feel like this can give off that impression for sure. And since then, it's like that ashtray thing's been bothering me more and more. And I talked about it in my top 25 of all time fragrance video, which Creed Royal Oud made. I talked about the ashtray problem, and I had like 4 people reach out to me and say, yo, man, that's so funny you said that. I've been wearing Creed Royal Oud for years. I never got that impression, but literally I started getting that too like a year ago, and that's why I sold mine. Like, I got messages like that from people. So I'm clearly not the only one that gets that or understands that this kind of just smells like cigar in a way. So it's a lot of money to pay for something with an intimate sillage that can give off that type of impression that doesn't really smell like a perfume. That's really a personal scent. And all that, like Creed Royal Oud, I don't want to let go of it. Don't get me wrong. I really would enjoy having this, but at the same time, I'm trying to downsize my collection. I'm learning like less is more, quality over quantity stuff, and really only keeping bottles of the things I really appreciate. And I'm fine with a decant of Creed Royal Oud. It's one of those fragrances that's super accessible. I feel like I could get it back at any time. It's super easy to find decants of it. I don't really need a whole bottle of it sitting around. This is like a personal scent. 10 mils will last me a long time. It's something I wear for myself. That's kind of where I'm at and why I'm going to let go of Creed Royal Oud. And there's another reason. I'm actually going to compare these two, which I don't think anybody ever does. And I'm going to tell you the reason I'm comparing them is they both smell very American. I'm going to get into the vibe of Royal Oud, but it just has this American cowboy vibe. There's a lot of fragrances that smell French and a lot that smell Middle Eastern, but there isn't a whole lot that smell like a cowboy can pull it off, like that American cigars, cash money kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like, these are the fragrances I would wear to like the rodeo or to like a baseball game. Like, I don't know why. That's just where my mind goes with them, and that's part of why I'm comparing them. Also, this is leathery, and you'll hear people say that Nouveau Monde has like kind of like a chocolate thing going, and this is very woody, and you'll hear people say that this has a chocolate thing going. Like, to me, there is a line to draw between these, but I prefer Nouveau Monde, and this is the one I'm keeping, and let me explain why. And I thought about it. I feel like Nouveau Monde has more dynamic range, and I feel like a lot of fragrances have more dynamic range than Creed Royal Oud. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're watching an orchestra, you have like your bass, your cello, and your violin. So it's like you have like bass notes, mid notes, high notes. And whenever there's separation, like the bass is really bassy, the mid is really mid, and the high is really high, that's what I call like dynamic range. And in a perfume, it kind of just gives me more like, I don't know, I like when there's that frequency shift because it makes a fragrance feel more immersive. It makes it feel more deep or like an experience or something I'm immersed in. And it's almost like I'm getting the freshness and I'm getting the warmth, like the deep warmth and the fresh at the same time. And the mid is kind of just balancing it all out. With Creed Royal Oud, I feel like the fragrance doesn't really have a lot of dynamic range. Like, I'm not getting like a really bright top and a really deep bass. I'm kind of just getting a bunch of mid notes. Like, so the fragrance feels a little bit more flat than Nouveau Monde because it's almost like wood and it's just like in this mid note thing. And it doesn't feel like there's this super fresh top or dark bottom. And I kind of wish there was. Like the citrus stuff people say they get from Royal Oud, I kind of wish there was like a bright citrus at the top and something like more warm and spicy at the bottom. But I'm kind of just getting a bunch of mid notes, so this fragrance just feels more flat to me than Nouveau Monde. And also the performance, like the Nouveau Monde opens up way more challenging with that barnyardy note. But I feel like Nouveau Monde really pushes out and just gives me really good performance to where I don't even need a travel atomizer to put it on. And it has that dynamic range. Like in the base of Nouveau Monde, I get this barnyardy animalic thing, and then in the mid, I get a leather. And in the top, I get something that's oddly fresh, so it just feels more immersive. It lasts longer. The dry down, I feel like, is better. Whereas Creed Royal Oud is more flat. It's very opening heavy, so I really like the first 30 minutes. but it's more flat, it's less immersive, and that's another reason I'm letting go of Creed Royal Oud and just keeping a decant for personal use. So there's a lot I get from the vibe of Creed Royal Oud. And that said, I'll say it again, it's a very American cowboy vibe and aesthetic for me. I'm not getting gentleman, I'm not getting like bougie. People say old money, and I could kind of see where they're coming from with that, but I grew up in Texas, and in the bars out here and the type of men out here in the country that wear leather jackets, that smoke cigars, I feel like they smell like Creed Royal Oud naturally. So like my memory association can't escape that. That's so forefront and center with this fragrance specifically. Just American cowboy, kind of like a tough guy, masculine aesthetic. And the other thing I get from it is the vintage vibe. And it just kind of makes me think of the aesthetic of the 50s, where houses had more like brown and more brown wood, and brown was more of a thing. There's something about this and the woody smell of it that just gives me a very vintage American aesthetic almost. I absolutely love the vibe of Royal Oud, and yeah, I do think it's one that is pretty rare and hard to find in other places, and that's one of the reasons I really value this scent, is the way it makes me feel. And it just makes me feel like this really nice, old school, very true masculine kind of feeling.
Is it recording? Everything is going?
Yes.
Okay, so we have Royal Oud by Creed. Okay, so the first thing that stands out to me is that the name Royal Oud makes you think that it's gonna be like a super oud heavy fragrance, like a Middle Eastern fragrance. But it's not that. What I get from it is like a really herbally, almost menthol, but mint is a herb, so yeah, herbally beginning or opening. And there's spices there too, kind of like, I don't know, cinnamon or something like that, that type of spice. And I think that comes out more in the dry down. I think this it's a really good fragrance. It would be more suitable for somebody on the mature side. But if you're 25 and you're dressed up, you're gonna go see the symphony or something, and you're wearing like your formal clothes and this is your scent, it's gonna work because it does give out like that formal vibe. If you're a little on the mature side, you can probably get away with this being like your daily fragrance. It's good. I like it, and I think it's very masculine, and it smells great. I'm gonna give it an 8.
This is the dry down.
Yeah, like I said, in the dry down, that herbally minty menthol thing leaves, and you're left with like a spices, but in the nutmeg, vanilla, cinnamon type of spice. It's an interesting one. I like it.